So you need to come over with kind of a bigger amount of clay, and you'll see here in a minute. Not, it doesn't take much to get some coils extruded, but you want to extrude kind of a lot at a time. So you need more clay versus a little amount of clay. The next thing we do is make sure you grab this, and you can see here it's got these side spaces, and those are going to eventually fit over these bolts here. So when we're doing this, there's lots of different coils you can extrude. So there is a die that's like this, and that's kind of some of those longer ones that would look like, give you that ribbon look if you wanted to. So there's one. This is the basic one that most everybody uses, not that you have to. But this die cut has all these different holes on it. And I always say about this one right here, the one that's in the middle is the best coil to use for just regular coil building. Now, if you know you're going to eventually maybe carve a bunch off of the surface of your vessel, then you would need the thicker one. But just that alone and just making a coil out of that one is too thick in your coil vessel. It's going to weigh a ton. So that middle one is a good one. So what I do is I put this down in here. Okay, so that's sitting down in there on that little ledge. And now I need to choose it. So there's this other piece here, okay? And that is the piece that you'll put over, and you will make sure that you have that only exposing the coil that you want to. So now I'm going to put this on here, and those openings, you go up and then you swivel into these bolts on the side. I always push down on it. I just have gotten in that habit to just make sure it's stuck there in place. After I wedged up a bunch of clay, and I showed you this already, but after I wedged this up, I kind of rolled this into a longer coil so that it can fit down in the extruder real easy. So just plop that down in there. The last thing that you need to do is take one of the dies that is all the way around, doesn't have any openings, it's flat all the way around and solid. So either one of these would work. And we set this down on top of the clay that's on the inside. This isn't a normal step, but we have to do it here because over time, I'll show you, this tool here has gotten a bend in it. So you can see it's kind of bent. So clay will squish up out of that unless you have that flat piece on top. Okay? So this thing is real heavy. Don't drop this on your toes. Be very careful. You can see here there's a hook. Okay, it goes up this way slightly. So you want to have that facing up. And this swivels like this, so don't pinch your fingers either. I'm going to set that down in there, and I go to the first available notch here, and I hook it, and I push down. Now, the other thing I've come over with is a bucket, and that's why the stool's always over here, because people like to use a bucket under there to catch your coils. So I'm going to push down like this, and then I ran out of space. You want to go nice and slow so that the coils don't spill over your bucket. So you're catching them okay? There we go. And I'm out of leverage. So now I move this out and down one more notch and finish up where I can. Now I've got a lot of good coils in here. And obviously, I would never go through all of these in one day, but it's nice to have around. And if you play your cards right, if you cover this really well with a plastic bag and even split a little bit in there, not too much, a little, then you can use the coils that you extrude day one. You can use them for several days in a row. Just don't forget that you have them and let them dry out. So I just kind of break this off underneath there where I'm done. I'm going to set this to the side. Now comes the cleanup part, which I mentioned you've got to do every single time. Because even if somebody is right behind you and wanting to extrude coils, you still got to get that flat piece off, right? So I'm going to just swivel this back. This comes out, I use my hands to just push this out of here. Set that to the side. Make sure you take all of these dies off. There was one year where we couldn't find this piece to save our lives, and I found it down in one of the scrap barrels like a month later. Okay, so make sure you get off all of these pieces. 1, 2, and 3. All right, we'll just set those down. Now, if this does, so this has some hard clay in it, so I would put this down in the scrap barrel. But if the clay is mostly wet in there and you pull this out and there's no hard chunks in it, this is still pretty good clay. So I would have you put this back in the stash on the wedge tables. But I'll put this down in the scrap barrel. I'm not going to leave it here as this looks right now. And then this tool, this wooden tool or something else. Now, if somebody's right behind you, you don't have to do this step. But if nobody's using this behind you, then clean this up. You know, and if a couple of you want to come back here together and extrude coils together and share them, that's awesome too. Okay, so that's the cleanup process. There's the coil extruder.